Cursed by the gods, unraveling the darkest Greek myths that haunt us forever. In the flickering shadows of ancient Greece, whispered tales traverse valleys and mountains. Streets teem with ghostly specters and ominous prophecies. Every crack of thunder overlays an unmistakable warning: dark forces loom, and the gods themselves are not to be trifled with. Dive deep into this chilling world where curses birth nightmares and where each myth entwines itself around the very fabric of fate. Start with the chilling memory of Lycaon, the king who dared to challenge Zeus himself. His arrogance was monstrous. He served human flesh to the supreme deity as a meal. Zeus, enraged, turned him into a wolf, marking a descent into merciless insanity. Imagine the howls echoing through the moonlit forests, a visceral testament to his eternal punishment. This wasn't merely a myth, it was a dire warning for those who believed they could outsmart divinity. Then came the tale of Medusa, a woman cursed for her beauty. With just a glance, she could turn men to stone. Picture it, a crisp morning, the glassy eyes of innocent soldiers becoming lifeless and dull, their final breaths escaping as they turn into cold, forgotten statues. Such visions gripped the heart with fear. Medusa roamed ancient ruins, forever tormented by her curse, an embodiment of tragedy and the painful reality of God's wrath. And let us not forget Pandora, the woman whose curiosity shattered worlds. A beautifully ornate box, sealed tightly, held the darkest evils of humanity. Just one crack allowed these horrors to spill forth like shadows at twilight, filling the world with despair. Yet from that chaos, a glimmer of hope lingered at the bottom, whispering promises of resilience amidst suffering. If that's not a reflection of life, what is? As legends weave tightly, whispers echo through modern streets. Once dismissed as mere stories, they become a chilling reality. Each cursed tale echoing through generations, a symphony of dread. The walls of our everyday lives are gray under that unsettling shadow overhead. What connects us to the past? Can we find solace, or are we bound to a fate dictated by indifferent gods? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the winds whisper tales of fate, one question echoes louder than the others: what if the curses never truly faded? Are the spirits of the cursed still roaming among us, waiting to enact their wrath? Each day may unveil another remnant of those tortured souls, reminding us that the gods have eyes everywhere. Stepping into the unknown, we must prepare for the spine-chilling depths of their shadows. What will we face when the whispers of the past converge with our present? The reckoning might be just around the corner. The wind howled through the ancient ruins, a cold breath laden with secrets of those long gone. It stirred the dust, a reminder of the specters hovering, murmurs echoing like a chorus of despair in the stillness. The moon hung like a luminous eye, watching and judging those who dared tread the cursed path. Sophia stood at the mouth of the temple, shivering both from the cold and a deep instinctual dread. The tales her grandmother told her reverberated in her mind. She was drawn to the sight, believing the legends were just that, stories. But each step she took toward the moss-covered stones felt heavy, as though the earth itself objected to her presence. After all she had heard, how could she not feel the weight of the past? This cursed place was no mere backdrop, it was alive with the pains of Medusa, Lycaon, and Pandora. The twisted roots of their stories wrapped around her heart and squeezed. What if she whispered, the question hanging in the air like an invisible thread, pulling her closer to the truth she craved? Just then, she heard a soft rustling that cut through the oppressive silence. Was it merely the wind or something else? A chill ran down her spine. She could feel her heart racing, each beat echoing the warnings of generations past. Shadows danced, elongated by the moonlight, playing tricks that tugged at her mind. Drawing a deep breath, she pushed forward, the darkness beckoning her into a world shrouded in mystery. The intricate carvings on the temple's facade seemed to come to life, each depicting a tragic tale, fingers stretched in agony, eyes wide with fear. They were not just art, they were memories locked in stone. Suddenly, a loud crash sliced through the night. Sophia stumbled backward, her pulse quickening as she turned. A figure loomed in the shadows, a distorted shape that seemed to shift between human and something far more sinister. Panic surged like wildfire inside her. "Who is there?" she called out, her voice trembling. The figure remained motionless, and for a moment, the world held its breath. Was this another cursed soul, or was it merely a figment of her imagination? Then the figure stepped into the moonlight. It was a woman, her hair wild and tangled, eyes gleaming with a terrifying light. "Do you seek the truth?" she hissed, her voice low and deliberate. Sophia hesitated, fear griping her throat. She thought of the stories, how men had become stone, how the powerful were brought low. But the pursuit of truth had propelled her all this way. Was she willing to turn back now? "Yes," she finally replied, though her heart thudded like a war drum. "But what truth do you hold?" A sinister smile crossed the woman's lips, flashing teeth that seemed sharp and predatory. "Only the truth that the gods would like to keep hidden. Are you prepared to bear the weight of knowledge?" Just as Sophia opened her mouth to respond, a great rumble shook the ground beneath her feet, the very foundation of the temple trembling as if in protest. Cracks spiderwebbed across the stone walls, dust cascading down like the final breaths of ancestors. "I'm not sure I can," Sophia stammered, but before she could pull away, the woman lunged forward, gripping her arm with a fierce intensity. "Open your eyes," she commanded, dragging Sophia toward the fissures that had just formed. Witness the curse unfold. As she was pulled closer to the growing chasm, a blinding light burst forth, illuminating the dark secrets of the temple and shattering the veil between myth and reality. What lay ahead, neither could fully comprehend. Would Sophia leave as a seeker of truth, or would she too become entwined in a curse older than time itself? As the light enveloped them, one thing became clear: answers were coming, but at what cost? The blinding light ignited around them, a searing phosphorescence that revealed the true horror of the temple's depths. Sophia felt the ground beneath her tremble, each reverberation clawing at her senses, driving her closer to the edge of insanity. As the shadows slithered away from the walls, she gasped, unable to turn her eyes from the spectacles that unfolded. Figures emerged from the light, twisted forms of ancient beings trapped in an eternal narrative of despair. Medusa, her eyes glazed with sorrow and rage, seemed to weave in and out of existence, her serpentine locks hissing even in stillness. The cold stone of Lycaon glimmered with a sheen of sweat, his face contorted in a silent scream, pained by the knowledge that cursed him to hunger for blood. And Pandora herself, forever peering into the depths of her forbidden box, lips twisting into an expression of relentless torment. "Do you see?" the wild-haired woman whispered, her grip tightening on Sophia's arm as if feeding off the young woman's fear. "These are the echoes of their truths, the suffering that lingers even when stories fade." Sophia swallowed hard, feeling the weight of despair wash over her like a relentless tide. Each figure pulsed with history, and reality twisted with absurdity around her. She suddenly felt the despair surrounding those forsaken souls, suffocating her, a darkness threatening to consume her very essence. "What does this mean?" she gasped, her voice barely above a whisper. "Knowledge is a double-edged sword," the woman replied with glee. "For every truth, there is a memory that haunts. Will you look, or will you flee?" The challenge dripped from her lips like venom, and with the very words, Sophia felt roots of doubt entwining around her heart. The fissures widened, the temple groaning as if it were a creature of flesh rather than stone. She could feel an ancient force, pulsating with raw energy, clawing at her sanity. Sophia dared a glance into the chasm where the light seemed to vibrate with promises and threats. "What lies below?" she whispered, guilt and intrigue wrestling for dominance within her mind. "That which cannot die, but will not be ignored," came a third voice, low and gravely. From the darkness of the chasm emerged another figure, his presence commanding yet anguished. The collective agony of those who suffered for the whims of the gods. Experience it. Without warning, the earth shivered with terror, sending Sophia tumbling into the abyss. The light enveloped her, consuming her in an embrace that felt simultaneously welcoming and horrific. She screamed, her voice lost in the void, where history lived without the constraint of time or memory. The world around her shifted as visions overcame her, scenes of betrayal and vengeance played like a movie on loop. Jason's fate twisted into betrayal, where the golden fleece turned into chains. Echoes of tortured cries rang loud from the heart of the temple, wrapping around her mind, dragging her deeper into madness. Sophia thrashed helplessly, wrestling with the weight of their stories as anguished cries morphed into her own voice. Would the truths she sought set her free, or would they stitch her fate to theirs? Time seemed to stretch like an elastic band, moments swollen with dread and urgency. When the oppressive whispers receded, she found herself alone, suspended in weightiness. The woman and the spirits had vanished, leaving only the scars of their existence etched in her memory. Am I truly alone? She breathed, peering into the shifting shadows. And just as the darkness answered, a soft, familiar voice broke through the encroaching silence. Her grandmother's lullaby echoed, weaving through the chaos. Seek the truth, my dear Sophia, but remember, some truths are cursed, and some curses, once awakened, cannot be unmade. The thought sent icy fingers racing up her spine. She was caught in a web more profound than she had ever imagined, where danger and revelation fused. What had she unleashed? Would she find a way back to herself, or would she be wrapped in eternal darkness? The path stretched before her, and she had to choose: would she delve even further, or make her way back? The weight of knowledge hung heavily in the air, and as she stood trembling at the precipice of insight, questions stirred within her. But the most pressing one loomed above all: what would she become once the truth was illuminated? Sophia's heart raced as the lullaby faded, leaving only a heavy silence behind. The shadows writhed and coiled around her, whispering promises of forgotten truths and buried horrors. She took a cautious step forward, the ground beneath her feeling both familiar and foreign, as if she was crossing into another realm. Her body felt lighter, yet her mind was weighted down with all that she had witnessed. Medusa's despair imprinted on her soul, Lycaon's silent scream echoing in her ears. Each figure haunted her thoughts. Who could she trust in this twisted narrative, where gods toyed with their destinies? Would pursuing the truth free her, or bind her to eternal suffering like those trapped souls? The shadows rippled, revealing a stone archway ahead, adorned with intricate carvings. The images played out like a silent film, narrating stories of love, betrayal, and vengeance. Sophia squinted, reading the despair etched into the stone, a tapestry of lives sacrificed for the whims of immortals. Would she too become just another figure in their cruel stories? Her breathing quickened as she approached the archway. What lay beyond? Was it the answer she craved, or more pain? With trembling hands, she pushed through the threshold, stepping into a chamber that felt alive. Here, the air was thick with tension, a pulse thrumming beneath her feet as the walls seemed to close in. A figure cloaked in a deep violet robe stood at the center, shrouded in mystery. Sophia, it crooned, the voice smooth like molten silver. You have come seeking your fate, but remember, truth is not always a blessing. The figure raised a hand, and with it came a vision that slammed into her, sudden flashes of memories that did not belong to her. A child's laughter echoed, fading into screams. A girl with wild hair sifted through a box, her hands trembling as she pulled out flickering lights that snuffed out one by one. Pandora. Sophia breathed, recognizing the anguish radiating from the being before her. You must confront her, if you wish to understand. The cloaked figure beckoned, eyes glistening in the half-light. The box holds the key to all despair. Just as the words settled in her mind, shadows lunged from the corners of the chamber, engulfing her in an icy grip. No. I must not. Sophia cried, her skin prickling as the darkness began to seep into her very being. Memories distorted and frayed flashed before her, tossing her between the past and present. A hand clutched her wrist, pulling her back toward the light. It was the wild-haired woman from before. You cannot shy away, Sophia. Those truths will find you, whether in anguish or enlightenment. Accept the pain, let it guide you through the storm. Sophia felt her heart racing again as if it would burst. She needed to uncover her connection to the stories around her, but how much of the burden could she realistically face? Every breath she took felt near impossible, each beat of her heart pounding with the urgency of her plight. With every step deeper into her own despair, she could hear the voices of the lost, mingling with her doubts. The overwhelming sense of foreboding pierced through her. What if the truth is a burden I cannot carry? She whispered to the wild-haired woman, who only smiled softly, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. You must decide, Sophia. Will you embrace the darkness or allow it to consume you? The choice is yours alone. Her heart raced as dread gripped her. Would the answers be liberating, or would they seal her fate forever? As she stood trembling at this crossroads, imbued with shadows and truth, a chilling question lingered in her mind: what horrors lie within Pandora's box, waiting to be unleashed? The shadows danced around her, pulsing like a living creature, pushing Sophia to the brink of panic. She could feel the weight of countless regrets pressing down, and it ignited a fierce urge to flee. But she couldn't know, she wouldn't. Not now, not when the answers screamed from within the darkness. Pandora's box. Her voice trembled, barely above a whisper. The words echoed in the chamber, a challenge thrown into the abyss. She had to face this head-on, or risk becoming yet another whisper in this haunting place. The wild-haired woman squeezed her hand, her grip grounding. You have the strength within you, Sophia. Listen to the echoes, they hold the stories you need. With those words, the chamber seemed to shift, walls contracting and expanding, the air thickening with tension. Then, without warning, the cold crept up from the floor, sweeping beneath her legs like a tide. Shadows twisted, rising and falling in familiar patterns, swirling around her in chaotic joy. In a flash, she found herself standing in front of ancient, flickering lights, each one revealing fleeting images trapped within the encasement of the box. A grand room full of celebration under a starry night. Laughter and smiles. Then a sharp gasp, and darkness clashed violently against the vibrant colors, swallowing them whole. A woman twisted in agony as she smashed her fist into the floor, crying out for mercy. The scene was torn apart and mended again, moments of joy drenched in despair. What is this? Sophia gasped, stepping back, her heart hammering. Emotions clawed at her, blurring the lines between her past and those of the wretched souls before her. Wisdom wrapped in pain, the cloaked figure offered, sounding eerily calm. All desires come with a price. Sophia looked back at the wild-haired woman, but her features were obscured, lost in the reflections of the chaotic visions. You must decide, Sophia. Will you pay the price? The shadows surged forward, engulfing her in a velvety void. Desperation clawed in her throat, and she felt like she was unraveling, threads of her identity slipping away. Panic threatened to swallow her whole, but in that flickering despair, she felt something shift. Chiara's words returned to her, truths buried within the chaos waited to be embraced or feared. Help me, she cried out, her voice echoing off the stone walls, desperate for a lifeline. I can't take this path for you, the figure replied, stepping slightly closer. You must choose. Face Pandora and the darkness it harbors, or stay in ignorance, shackled to fear and doubt. As she regained her footing, Sophia felt the weight of expectation wrapping around her like chains, heavy yet familiar. Ignoring the impulse to retreat, she steadied her breath. I want to know, she declared, each word growing louder. I want to free myself. In response, the air crackled with energy. The shadows recoiled, then surged forward in a whirlwind, and suddenly she stood before the box itself, a magnificent, intricately carved vessel, shimmering as if alive. The lid bore a deep crack, dark and beckoning. A cold shiver ran down her spine. Sophia, the wild-haired woman, appeared behind her, eyes wide with something between fear and admiration. The box reveals your truth, but beware, the cost could shatter your very essence. With her heart poised on a knife's edge, she approached the box. The darkness within pulsated, alive with its own hunger, and the whispers grew louder, a cacophony of despair. This is it. This is the moment, Sophia breathed, uncertainty mixing with determination. She reached out, trembling fingers brushing the surface. What secrets lay just beyond, waiting to break free? All the swirling doubts, fear, and pain converged into one irrevocable decision, as she sensed the shadows coiling around her, urging her on. And then the lid began to creak open. What would spill forth? Would truth transform her fate into liberation, or entrap her deeper in the gods' cruel designs? The moment eclipsed everything, an eternal pause before the plunge into chaos. The moment the lid fully eased open, an icy wind roared from the depths of the box, spiraling around her like a tempest. Darkness clawed at her skin, making her hairs stand on end, and before she could brace herself, the shadows erupted, spilling forth an overwhelming tide of swirling figures and memories. They rushed past her, unveiling a chaotic parade of anguish and regret, each image slicing through her mind like shrapnel. Sophia gasped, stumbling backward, her heart thundering in her ears. The figures within the shadows writhed, echoing painful cries and desperate pleas. She felt them pressing against her thoughts, thick and suffocating, a storm of despair trying to drag her under. The vivid colors merged into a deep, disturbing red infused with the chill of icy blackness. Can you see them? The wild-haired woman shouted over the chaos, her voice fierce as the air around them crackled dangerously. They are the unclaimed, the lost. Each one holding a piece of the truth. Sophia squeezed her eyes shut, trying to block out the sight, but it didn't help. The memories seeped into her consciousness, pulling her into moments she had never lived but could feel reverberating through her very being. Friends turned into foes, love burned into betrayal, laughter twisted into screams. With every pulse of the shadows, she felt her own soul fracture, splintering into parts that remembered pain she had never experienced. I can't bear this. She shouted, voice hoarse with emotion, but the words barely penetrated the storm around her. Face it. You must confront your past. The woman implored, eyes glinting with urgency. Only then can you reclaim what is yours. Sophia's mind raced. What could she possibly discover hidden among these images? Regret? Pain? What fragments of truth remained unsaid? Deep down, she understood, they were all her fears made flesh, and facing them was the only way to escape this nightmare. With trembling hands, she forced her eyes open, locking onto the center of the chaos. An image solidified there, amidst the swirling mass of dark. She saw herself as a child, laughing as she twirled among friends under a golden sun. Joy spilled from that memory like light trying to push back the shadows, and yet as quickly as it appeared, it shattered into shards of black. Laughter morphed into her own echoing cries, her innocence lost in an instant. No! She screamed, stepping forward. This is not what I want. This is not my truth. The shadows twisted violently, coiling around her wrists, anchoring her in place. The wild-haired woman shouted from the depths of the storm, her face pleading. Choose, Sophia. Choose to break free. The energies clashed and collided around her as Sophia's resolve hardened. She felt the pressure building, like the weight of a tidal wave about to crash. Instead of pulling away, she summoned every ounce of strength within her. I will confront each of you. I will own my truth. She dared, voice resounding with newfound power. The shadows responded with a piercing wail, shrieking in fury as they surged toward her. In that moment, fear and determination intertwined, propelling her forward. The shadows reached for her throat, icy fingers grasping as if to silence her, but she fought back. I will not be a prisoner. I will not vanish into your void. As light from her declaration broke through the layer of shadow, Sophia threw her hands toward the chaos. What she hadn't anticipated was that the shadows would respond, swirling violently, warping in her grasp. In the storm, she felt the boundaries of her very essence begin to dissolve. And then a white-hot flash erupted from the box, blinding her. Sophia gasped, thrown against the wall of the chamber, breathless. When the light dimmed, silence fell. Before her lay scattered remnants of the darkness, silken threads of shadow still quivering in the air, but they had been stripped of power and vibrancy. The box lay open, a hollow void now, and in its silence, she felt them, echoes of stories untold, memories unsaid. But her victory was tinged with dread. Though free from the chaos, something else loomed. A familiar chill spiraled down her spine, leaving her breathless as she whispered, "What now? What have I unleashed?" Still, looming questions remained in the shadows, ready to surface, demanding answers she wasn't sure she could handle. Would her truth bring freedom or forge new chains? What had she set free? The box's whispers grew faint, but the promise of something darker stirred in the corners of her mind, and she couldn't shake the feeling that the real storm was only beginning. Sophia's heart raced as the air thickened, heavy with the remnants of the shadows she had just expelled. Every breath she took felt like an echo of the darkness, as if it was still clinging to her, a reminder of what she had faced. A sharp crackle pulsed through the empty chamber, slicing through her fog of adrenaline-fueled disbelief. "Is this it?" she murmured, her voice trembling, unsure whether she was addressing the wild-haired woman or the shadowy remnants that still floated around. "Is this what freedom feels like?" The woman stepped closer, her wild mane swaying with each deliberate movement. "No. It's only the beginning," she warned, her eyes glinting with a mix of fear and something that resembled anticipation. "What you've awakened, it's restless. The truth you sought comes with a price." Sophia tried to stand taller, to project resolution. "I don't care," she shot back, forcing the quaver from her voice. "I won't live in fear anymore. I will not be another lost memory." But as she spoke, the shadows that had marginally subdued began to quiver again. They danced dangerously close along the chamber's walls, forming glimpses of faces twisted in sorrow, eyes laden with grief. She stepped back, heart quickening, but the wild-haired woman pressed a hand to her shoulder. "Watch and learn," she instructed, her tone fierce and unyielding. Suddenly, the threaded shadows coalesced, forming a swirling vortex in the center of the room. An image broke free from the cyclone, a man, mouth opening in agony, the expression both foreign and oddly familiar. "Sophia." The name echoed as if the air itself was mourning. The voice rang with age-old despair, reverberating through her bones. It belonged to someone close. Someone she had lost but could not consciously remember. "You must choose," he implored, the shadows distorting his features like a painting obscured by rain. She let out a choked breath, a vision suddenly flickering. In that moment, she was sprawled under the fiery glow of sunsets and searing laughter. A face emerged from the memories, her brother. "Theo," she whispered, recognition sliding into despair. "Yes," the man echoed, eyes wide with pleading. "You know the truth, but ignoring it will only strengthen the darkness within you. You must face what happened." Fury ignited in her, crackling like the electricity in the air. "No. I won't be dragged down by another failure," she shouted, her past clashing with her present. "Do not run." The wild-haired woman cried, a mixture of desperation and resolve in her voice. "You will only unleash more." Sophia's hands clenched into fists. "What could be worse than what I've already faced?" she shouted back, her voice ringing through the shadows. The shadows shivered as though in response to her defiance, and with a fierce pull, they propelled the images forward like waves crashing on a shore. Theo's tormented visage twisted, drawing her closer. "You have the choice now, Sophia. Awaken what lies within. Accept it and be free." "Free?" she spat back, feeling the intensity of the moment sharpen. Could free mean remembering the hurt? The betrayals? "Exactly," he shouted, losing form in the torrent of darkness. "It all must come to light. Face it, sister. Only then will the shadows lose their hold." The wind howled through the chamber as she stood there, wavering under the weight of revelation. The cries of those enveloped in darkness surged back, a cacophony of stories demanding to be told. Against her will, Sophia was beginning to realize that the truth was more complicated than she had ever dared to imagine. I can't. Will I even survive this? The words slipped from her lips, and the shadows wriggled eagerly, tempting her deeper into the darkness. The wild-haired woman put both hands on Sophia's shoulders. In this moment, you reclaim not just your truth but your power. Confront them. You have the strength to face your past. Through the chaos, Sophia felt a spark of defiance igniting within her. Fear morphed into courage. She took a deep breath, heart thrumming like a drum. Was she ready to dive back in and face not just what was lost, but what could be salvaged? As memories swirled around her, she could hear the whispers crescendo, unlock the door. Was she prepared to face the dark truth she had so fervently avoided? In that instant, a voice broke through, low and haunting. Only then will your fate be sealed. The shadows gave an ominous lurch, and within the chaos, she began to understand, she was not only a victim of her path but also its architect. What lay ahead was an uncharted territory filled with peril. But turning back was not an option. With a stealing breath, Sophia stepped forward, ready to confront whatever lay within the dark depths. And as she did, she thought, maybe the truth would be the only key to unravel the curse entwining her fate, but would she be ready for what might awaken next? The air crackled around her as she stepped deeper into the whirlwind of shadows. A strong pulse beat through the darkness, resonating with the frantic rhythm of her heart. Whispered voices darted in and out of her consciousness, wrapping around her thoughts like tendrils of smoke. Unlock the door, they urged, beckoning her closer to the truth she had run from for so long. As she moved, memories surged, cascading over one another like an unruly tide. She felt the weight of her brother's pain pressing against her chest. She couldn't ignore it. It was time to unveil the hidden secrets that had long been buried. What had happened to Theo? Face it. The wild-haired woman shouted, grounding her in the chaos. You're stronger than this darkness. Sophia took another step into the vortex, another shadow rising as if responding to her resolve. In that split second, she pressed her palms against the cold, swirling mass, the chills sending shivers coursing up her arms. The shadows twisted violently and morphed, revealing visions that threatened to drown her. The chaotic images triggered something, flashes of laughter and tears, and then a scream. It echoed like a knife through her mind. A blurred scene of her brother, his eyes wide with terror, echoed through the air. No. Don't let them take you. He shouted, his voice filled with urgency, pulling her further into the whirlwind. The room felt like it was closing in, the walls pulsating with a sinister life of their own. Shadows darted close, and in an instant, their faces became grotesque apparitions, people from her past, trapped in agony. She recognized them, friends, neighbors, her childhood pets, all lost to the shadows, all connected to the unresolved pain clawing at her core. Never return, one shadow hissed, its face twisted in fear and anger. Another voice joined in, you think you can change it? You think you can free us? The sounds danced around her, each taunting word feeding her doubt. But a flicker of courage surged within her, a fierce determination born of heartbreak. I can't run anymore. I'm ready to face this. She declared, and the wild-haired woman nodded, pride shimmering in her eyes. The vortex roared to life, swirling with even greater intensity, urging her forward. The shadows spiraled like a cyclone, morphing into monumental shapes, a home that had once been filled with laughter, but now laid desolate, a birthday cake smeared with tears instead of icing. Then she saw it, the door. Ancient and rusted, it loomed in the heart of the cyclone, pulsating with an energy that beckoned her closer. This was it, the unlocking moment that could either unleash horror or deliver salvation. She could feel the doubt rising within her, but even stronger was the flicker of hope that ignited her heart. As she gripped the handle, plummeting doubt flooded her thoughts. What if I'm not strong enough? What if the truth steals what little peace I have left? But then Theo's voice broke through the chaotic noise, echoing with heartfelt conviction. Sophie. You are never alone in this. You can do this. Drawing on the memory of her brother's unwavering love, she twisted the handle and pulled. The door creaked ominously, unleashing a rush of air that blew through her hair and into her very soul. Face it, she whispered to herself, pushing the door wide enough to peer inside. What awaited her behind that door began to reveal itself, a world woven with her past and the threads of darkness that had ensnared her for so long. She took the first step inside, heart pounding with uncertainty but driven by a fierce will to reclaim her lost memories. And just as she crossed the threshold, a chilling laugh resonated through the swirling shadows, a voice that sent shivers down her spine. Welcome, Sophia. You've opened the door to a past more twisted than you could ever imagine. Suddenly, the air thickened, the world shifted, and she was plunged deeper into an abyss of swirling chaos. What awaited her on the other side was yet to be revealed, but one thing was clear: to reclaim her freedom, she must confront not just the memories that haunted her, but also the horrifying truth that lay waiting in the shadows. Would she have the strength to endure the horrors once more? The world inside the door was unlike anything Sophia had ever imagined. A distorted reflection of reality, each corner twisted and darkened by a palpable weight of despair. The air was still, heavy with tension, as if it had long since abandoned hope. Shadows loomed larger here, shifting into silhouettes that seemed to breathe as they watched her, whispering secrets she both craved and feared. As she took tentative steps forward, the ground beneath her feet felt like a living entity, shifting and pulsing with energy. Hello. She called out, her voice trembling, echoing back at her with a mocking lilt. Silence was her only answer. It wrapped around her like a vice. The wild-haired woman appeared again, emerging from a swirling cloud of shadow, her expression a mix of determination and concern. Sophia, she said, her voice sharper this time. The memories are alive here. They can pull you under if you let them. Sophia nodded, gripping her fists at her sides, steeling herself. I need to find Theo. I have to know what happened. Each word felt like a vow, an anchor against the tide of fear threatening to consume her. With renewed focus, she pressed on, the shadows swirling more violently around her. Dark figures flickered in and out of sight, faces from her past, etched in horror. A jarring scream sliced through the air, reverberating with an echo of pain that sliced straight through her heart. No. Help. Don't listen. The woman's voice cut through, sharp as a knife. They will try to manipulate you. Remember, they feed on your fear. But the terror was already sinking its claws deep into her psyche. Each figure twisted into shapes that held memories of betrayal, loss, and regret. A face she recognized twisted into a grimace, mouthing words she couldn't hear. It was then that a flicker of light ignited in the darkness, a small, brilliant spark illuminating the vast despair. Sophia turned toward it, a sense of hope flooding through her veins. Moving closer, she spotted a tarnished mirror hanging on the wall, the glass clouded and crackling with static energy. It felt alive, vibrating against her aura, and she instinctively reached out to touch it. As her fingers brushed the surface, images erupted. Theo's laughing face, their childhood home filled with warmth, the safety of his embrace, and then, everything shattered. The laughter turned to screams, the warmth morphed into icy bitterness, and she was thrown into his last moments, fear and darkness overtaking him. Sophie. Please, help me. The tears cascaded down her cheeks, hot with the weight of his memory. No, 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 no. She choked out, her heart racing. She stumbled back, away from the mirror, as it crackled and flared with energy. Well, looks like someone wants to play. A smooth, menacing voice rang out from the darkness, icy and taunting. The shadows twisted and formed into a figure, cloaked in darkness, its eyes glinting like black pools of abyss. You really believe you can save your brother? What are you? Sophia demanded, breathless, her hands shaking. Just a friend, the figure replied, a smile unfurling across its face. A guide, if you will, through your twisted memories, through your wretched past. The wild-haired woman stepped between them, fury igniting her features. Leave her. You want to take her. The figure laughed, a low rumble that echoed through the chamber. Oh, this has only just begun, sweet lady. They turned their gaze back to Sophia, a terrifying power radiating from them. Are you ready to see what true horror lies within? Sophia felt the ground quake beneath her, swirling into chaos once more as the figure's presence enveloped her. She had to push through, had to find Theo, had to uncover the truth. But at what cost? The shadow figure's laugh morphed into a haunting melody, lingering in her ears. Desperation clawed at her chest as darkness threatened to swallow her whole. Can you endure it? The figure taunted, fading into the swirling vortex. Can you endure the cost of knowledge? The room warped around her, and as the pressure mounted, she felt herself torn. The wild-haired woman reached out, but the darkness drew closer. Should she confront the figure or flee from the unsettling truth? The weight of her choice bore down on her, and with it, an undeniable question loomed large in the air: was she truly ready to face the echoes of a past that could unravel everything she thought she knew? The shadows coiled tighter around Sophia, threatening to crush her spirit beneath their weight. She stood at the crossroads of fear and courage, longing to find her brother, yet terrified of what the truth could unveil. The echo of the shadow figure's laugh lingered like a ghost in her mind, a reminder of the darkness that lay ahead. Face it. The wild-haired woman urged, her voice breaking through the tumult. You have the power to change this. Sophia's heart raced, pounding against the walls of her chest. I want to know the truth, she declared, her voice steadier now. I want to reclaim not just my brother, but myself. With newfound resolve, she pushed forward, the swirling shadows parting around her like a torrent. Each step was charged with electricity, feeding on her determination. The mirror pulsed with energy, shards of memories scattered across its surface, inviting and challenging her to look within. Come on. She whispered to herself, mustering every ounce of courage. As if responding, the mirror flickered and a scene ignited from the depths, revealing splintered fragments of laughter and despair. The images condensed into one specific moment, a birthday party from long ago, filled with balloons and bright lights. It felt alive, infused with the warmth of love that had long since turned cold. Theo was there, beaming with joy. His laughter rang out like music, wrapping around her heart, but abruptly it shattered, a sharp cry slicing through the celebration. Help. No. The word tore from her throat as she clawed at the mirror, the faces of their shared past twisting into something grotesque. What happened to you? She cried, desperation fueling her voice. The shadows prickled against her skin, and suddenly the reflection rippled like water, morphing, warping into a darkened alley. There, in the depths, she saw her brother's terrified face once more, a visceral reminder of his final moments. Sophie. I didn't mean it. Help. Panic surged within her, knocking the breath from her lungs. I'm here, Theo. I'm here. She screamed, but the words fell silent in the dark void enveloping them. The shadow figure materialized, its face a darkened veil. You really think you can save him? It whispered, slicing through the air like a dagger. You can't escape the truth, Sophia. He's trapped, like all of us. And it's your fault. No. She screamed, the anguish pooling in her chest, threatening to consume her. This is what you wanted, isn't it? To uncover the past, to blame yourself. The figure's smile twisted her insides, mocking her anguish. Shadows loomed larger, the images of loss swirling with chaos. No, I want to let you. She shouted, focusing all of her willpower, forcing herself to confront the painful memories that rained from the shadows. A surge of anger filled her, anger not only toward the figure but toward herself. Trembling, she stood her ground, locking eyes with the specter. I will face this. I won't hide from the truth anymore. The declaration surged through her, a powerful wave of defiance. With renewed spirit, she turned to the mirror. Theo, I will find you. I will face what has kept us apart. When her fist struck the glass, it shattered into a million pieces, each fragment revealing glimpses of Theo's battle's fear, confusion, and anger. The shadows shrieked as they were forced back, swirling violently in response to her determination. You can't hide. You can't run. They hissed, yet the wild-haired woman stepped forward, guiding her. Push through, Sophia. The past may hurt, but it's yours to claim. Her unwavering faith flickered like a beacon, urging Sophia onward. Let the truth rise. She shouted, digging deep within her heart. The ashes of the past felt less like chains and more like stepping stones toward freedom. Finally, the world shifted, the shadows beginning to disperse. The figure's face twisted in rage as the light grew brighter. No! It screamed, and an explosion of darkness exploded outward, but Sophia remained firm, grounded by that inner strength she hadn't known she possessed. The pressure built around her, the swirl of memories ignited into a brilliant light. You're no match for me. She screamed, the energy erupting from her. You will not claim my memories any longer. With a violent push, the shadows fled before her radiance. In that instant, she felt the connection to Theo blossom, the truth wrapping around both of them. His voice broke through, stronger than ever. Sophie. You found me. I'm here. She cried, pulling him from the grasp of the shadows, their connection igniting with palpable warmth. You're safe now. As they embraced, the darkness recoiled, the shadow figure's scream fading into silence. The shadows began to melt away completely, freeing them from the weight of their past. In the quiet that followed, Sophia and Theo stood hand in hand, bathed in light. What now? She whispered, feeling the remnants of their struggles dispersing into the ether. The truth will always be part of us, he replied, his voice filled with warmth and reassurance. But we have each other now, and the past no longer has power over us. For the first time, Sophia felt the burden begin to lift. The curse that had once haunted their family could now change. With their hearts intertwined, they stepped into a new era, one where the shadows of the past could no longer define who they would become. As they left the remnants of darkness behind, hope flickered in the horizon, a reflection of the lives they would build, free from the burdens the gods once placed upon them. And in that moment of freedom, a new journey began. Hey! Before you go, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now, feed the algorithm, and let us keep this community thriving. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild conclusion. Did Sophia make the right choice? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference. Let us grow this family together.